Hi, I'm Catherine Lee from Harmony School of Innovation.
And I'm Lorene, also from Harmony School of Innovation.
So for our Math PBL project, we chose the factorization topic. This topic focuses on discovering and analyzing the factors of some of the most common and used numbers. By memorizing the different factors of a number, it makes it much easier to solve quadratic equations.
With this kind of knowledge, a person can save the much needed time and the unnecessary effort needed in order to find the solutions for these sorts of problems. The project breaks down and finds the factors that maximize the variable b in the quadratic equation of x squared plus bx plus c, which in turn finds the numbers, or the factors, that solve quadratic equations.
For the social studies component of this project, I did research on the history of math and how people started factoring polynomials. The most basic form of math, counting, began after the development of language. Evidence of notches and sticks and stones show that humans in ancient history had some sort of counting system. It wasn't until 1750 BC in Babylon and Egypt that humans started doing algebraic and geometrical calculations. At the time, Babylon solved far more advanced math than their counterparts in Egypt. Babylonians did their calculations on cuneiform tablets. Egyptians had papyrus, which is an earlier form of paper, dedicated to mathematical brain teasers. Around 6th century BC, ancient mathematics has reached the modern world largely through the work of Greek mathematicians in the classical period. A leading figure among the early Greek mathematicians is Pythagoras. He is known for discovering the octave and the three angles of a triangle always add up to 180 degrees. He is most famous for proposing the Pythagorean theorem, which states that in any right angle triangle the longest side, or hypotenuse, is equal to the sum of the squares of the other two sides. Babylonian algebra is revived by the Greeks in Alexandria around 200 AD. Diophantus writes a treatise called Arithmetica, where he introduces a special sign for minus and uses the letter S for the unknown quantity. Greek algebra then diffuses across the world but plays a significant role in ancient Islam. The study of algebra is actually derived from the Arabic word meaning completion or reunion of broken parts. Furthermore, this field of math flourished during the Islamic Golden Age. The history of factorization began in 1900 BC. Quadratic problems were found on cuneiform tablets from 3,000 years ago. However, the method of factoring polynomials is actually one of the newer ways to solve quadratics. This method was not used until Thomas Harriot published a book that mentioned factoring polynomials in 1631. Before graphing calculations and other electronic instruments were introduced, factorization was one of the quickest, most reliable ways to find the roots of polynomials.
Most of the time, whenever factorization is used in my life, it is because something is being planned ahead of the time, and the activity needs to be split into many sections, so to speak. For example, during my 9-year-old birthday party at a beach resort near my house, I had to figure out how much food and party favors had to be handed out to each guest who had said that they could come. Of course, this is a very juvenile example, but because I was quite young, my parents entrusted me with this job. Around 15 people had RSVP'd, and 3 packs of 50 bubble solution bottles and 3 packs of 50 plastic flutes and stationery were available. I was tasked with the job of figuring out how many bottles of bubble solution and plastic flutes and stationery, both counted as one. There were around 50 of each that were then called as 50 as a whole because they were counted as pairs I had to give to each person. It was simple and I'd figured it out relatively quickly. Basically, I had to give out 10 of each, 10 bottles of bubble solution to each guest, and 10 pairs of plastic flutes and stationery. All I'd had to do was multiply those 50 bubble solution bottles by 3 in order to get the total amount, and the same had to be done to the plastic flutes and stationery. In total, I had 150 bubble solution bottles and 150 pairs of plastic flutes and stationery. Since there were around 15 people who had said earlier on that they were going to show up, I'd known that all I'd have to do was divide those 150 by 15. The answer was 10, and that was how I decided how many of each to give to the guests and friends who were going to the pool party. When I look back through my admittedly short life, this is the earliest experience that I can remember that had to do directly with algebra and factorization. This memory showed how applicable this topic is to real life and how often it occurs in everyday life. Even 9-year-old me had to encounter and figure out how to do it.
Through this project, we were able to learn a lot about factorization, the history of math, and polynomials. By being aware of the factors of the numbers from 1 to 50, it makes it much easier for a person to solve a quadratic equation, especially when they factor it out to complete it. Thanks for watching Harmony School of Innovation.